This video is about Taiwan. You know, that popular tourist destination in Southeast Asia with the tropical beaches and the Pad See Ew.
You want to live in Taiwan? What?
Right, so take two. This video is about Taiwan, the island southeast of China with the boba, the night markets, and the semiconductors. Taiwan is in the headlines all the time these days, but it's often the cause for confusion. This is because Taiwan is often discussed in just two ways. The first being as a potential flashpoint for war with China, and the second being as a semiconductor factory that powers all of our iPhones. What's often missing is the complications and the nuances of Taiwan's geopolitical history. To move beyond the headlines, I talked to some experts who study Taiwan or who have spent years living there, and I asked them what Americans typically get wrong about Taiwan. These misconceptions start with things as basic as Taiwan's name and its location. Hi friends, I'm Sarah Plavnik, a researcher who has spent 8 years studying Taiwan's media and culture. And this is Taiwan Salad, a space where I cover all of the questions about Taiwan that you were too afraid to ask. Today we'll take a look at how Taiwan's name became so confusing, so that the next time you watch White Lotus, you'll know way more about the place that they're decidedly not vacationing in.
So I would typically introduce myself in the very first class of the semester that I'm from Taiwan, and then my student would say oh, we love Taiwan because we love Thai food. And that is a very common misconception to mistaken Taiwan as Thailand.
Yeah, I think one common misperception is that it's Thailand and that the capital is Bangkok.
Okay, Taiwan and Thailand both share the common syllable of Thai, or maybe I should say Thai. And there's also a lot of Thai restaurants in the US. But food from Thailand is in Thai restaurants, and food from Taiwan is in Taiwanese restaurants. So that's how you tell the difference. Part 2. Taiwan is not the PRC.
They don't know that the Republic of China is the formal name of Taiwan. They don't know the Republic of China, People's Republic of China. We don't know that there's a difference.
So there's Taiwan, China, Republic of China, People's Republic of China. That's a lot of names. It's really confusing. When I first started learning about Taiwan, I read maybe 25 books, and they all had introductions that went over the same history about Taiwan. It took me all of those books to even begin to get a grasp on Taiwan's history. If you're already familiar with Taiwan's history, you could skip ahead to the next chapter, but if you're not, I'll attempt to summarize it here. Part 3. How Taiwan got its names. Let's start in 1949, at the end of the Chinese Civil War, when the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, and the Kuomintang, or KMT Nationalist Party, attempted to gain control of mainland China. In 1949, the victorious Chinese Communist Party established the People's Republic of China and mainland China, and the KMT retreated to Taiwan, where they established the Republic of China. So you can think of Taiwan as a physical island, with the KMT establishing the state of the Republic of China on this island. The thing is, when the KMT arrived on Taiwan, there were already 6 million people living there, including Han Chinese who had migrated from mainland China generations before, as well as indigenous Austronesian people who had lived in Taiwan for thousands of years. So the KMT's arrival created a distinction between people who had been in Taiwan and those new arrivals. The people who had been in Taiwan were known as Taiwanese people, or Ban Shengren. And then the new arrivals, the 1.5 million political refugees that came with the KMT, were known as mainlanders, or Wai Shengren. In Taiwan, the end of World War II marked the end of 50 years of Japanese colonial rule. And during this time, people in Taiwan put up with a repressive Japanese colonial administration in exchange for economic development and social stability. Since many people in Taiwan who had lived through Japanese colonial governance actually had roots in mainland China, some of these people were hopeful that when the KMT arrived, they would bring a less repressive regime and also incorporate more culturally Chinese elements into their governance. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. The KMT arrived and they considered Taiwan as this temporary stopping place where they could build up their strength until they could take back mainland China. In the chaos after the Chinese Civil War, they brought corruption, and then this transitioned into a 38-year period of repressive martial law, which also came with rapid economic development known as the Taiwan Miracle. After the end of martial law, Taiwan transitioned to a democratic government, and it now functions effectively as an independent democracy, with the majority of people in Taiwan identifying as Taiwanese and not Chinese. At the same time, Taiwan is still called the ROC, or Republic of China, in official contexts, which reminds us constantly that Taiwan's government and its governmental systems were originally built to govern all of nationalist China and not just Taiwan. In the meantime, the People's Republic of China has continued to see Taiwan as part of its territory. Taiwan is this rogue province that broke away at the end of the Chinese Civil War. According to Beijing's official position, there's only one China, and the PRC's government is the only legitimate government of this China, which includes Taiwan. Because of this, the PRC strongly opposes any suggestion that Taiwan is a separate country and pushes back against Taiwan's participation in international organizations like the United Nations, while also expressing discontent to any other government that tries to engage with Taiwan. So to summarize, the confusion between Taiwan and China comes in part from the PRC's continued claims to Taiwan, and then in part from the KMT government establishing itself in Taiwan in 1949 as the Republic of China. And while Taiwan can be referred to as both Taiwan and the Republic of China, it's distinct from the People's Republic of China. That was a really brief history, so if you want to learn more, I would recommend you check out Asianometry's YouTube channel, and then I would also recommend you check out a book by political scientist Shelley called Why Taiwan Matters. Part 4, What's in a Name? So what are the implications of this confusion about Taiwan's name and its relation to China? In fact, some of the biggest debates in contemporary politics in Taiwan stem from the fact that Taiwan's government was originally built by the KMT to govern all of nationalist China and not just Taiwan. So I'll let Professor Kevin Luo explain in more detail.
Taiwan still officially operates under the Republic of China Constitution, right? This was a constitution that was enacted back when the Republic of China was still based on mainland China. There has been a lot of interesting debates about the current survivability of that particular constitution on Taiwan. So there is this perennial debate, right, of whether or not Taiwan should change its constitution, right, to reform its official name of its state, right, from the Republic of China to perhaps something else. Currently, right, I think most mainstream politicians in Taiwan prefer a status quo, right, in that they like to maintain this sort of weird hybrid, right, between a constitution that was written for a mainland Chinese population, right, and then maybe reinterpreting that or readopting that for a modern society on Taiwan.
Okay, so the ROC versus Taiwan debate comes up not only in relation to Taiwan's constitution, but also other official documents such as Taiwan's passport. In fact, in 2020, Taiwan's government decided to revise Taiwan's passports because they were fed up with customs officials confusing it with China's passports and not letting Taiwanese people enter the countries that they were legally allowed to enter. And so they redesigned Taiwan's passport. Before 2020, the passports had Republic of China printed at the top and then Taiwan at the bottom. And then after 2020, the new passports just had Taiwan at the bottom. And then it said Republic of China just in tiny letters around the national emblem. And then it still said Republic of China in Chinese, but not in English. So the word China only appeared on the passport in tiny letters around the emblem. So the implications of the confusion around Taiwan's name on official documents is that it makes it more difficult to recognize Taiwan as a distinct political entity, and easier to confuse Taiwan with the People's Republic of China. And this confusion isn't limited to those of us outside of Taiwan. It's at the center of some of Taiwan's most important contemporary political debates. So have you ever met one of those people that uses two names? Maybe they have one name that they use at home with their family and then one name that they use in public with their colleagues or their friends. And then maybe this person ends up having two different personalities or identities. They act one way when they're addressed by one name, just with their family, and then they might act a different way when they're out with their friends or their colleagues in public. This is all to say that naming, how people are named, what they're named, how they're recognized by others, is really important for both people and places in establishing their identity. And if a name is unclear, then that person or place's identity might be unclear as well. Right, so I was reading this book called Place, Identity, and National Imagination in Post-War Taiwan. And it's by the Taiwanese professor B.U. Zhang. And she tracks how these documents, called ROC yearbooks, change over time. She notes that in 2006, the name of these official ROC yearbooks changed to Taiwan ROC yearbook. And this was a really significant moment. And so she writes about this moment, there's a quote, "Powerful in both injecting new meanings and removing undesirable implications, the act of naming had given a new identity to the ROC as a Taiwan state." So the name on these official documents was changed, and this led to the identity of Taiwan being changed as well. So here, the name of a place is considered to be super important. It's powerful enough to give an entirely new identity to Taiwan as a place. On the flip side, if the name of a place is confusing or unclear, it may become more difficult to understand that place and easier for people to define that place on their own terms. Okay, that's all for now. I hope this video gave you a better sense of why Taiwan's name is so confusing. But please let me know what you think in the comments. Have you ever changed your name, and how did that change your identity? Do you want to know more about Taiwan's passports or constitution? What are some burning questions that you still have about Taiwan? Finally, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos on all things Taiwan.